Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, where we're focusing on our key theme today, security. We're joined now by the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Solomon Arase. Well, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's start off with one key area, because you focused on this and you have a lot of background in this. Intelligence policing. You've said, look, that's central to getting the police to the next level, if you could describe it as such. What is going on with that? How far have you gone there?
Well, the intelligence school in Enugu has been open since I, assumed responsibility as the Inspector General of Police, and as we speak, over 1,000 officers have been trained at that police intelligence school in Enugu. Further to that, you cannot get intelligence except you are able to win public trust of the people. So I have made, community partnership as one of the, cornerstone of, my administration. Apart from holding the security summit, which was successfully held last year, I have traveled in 36 states of the Federation, including Abuja, in the past 1 year. And most of the message that I have always carried out with, non-state actors and other strategic groups in society is that you just have to, trust the Nigerian police force. If that element of trust is not there, it's always very, very difficult for you to elicit information from them. And apart from getting the information, we have also keyed into training officers who are very, very vast in crime analysis. We've trained them, I've sent them to all the states in the Federation to give the commissioners of police, the expertise to be able to gather information, analyze them, and utilize them in internal security management. So you see, it has been a continuous process. And apart from that intelligence you've just mentioned, we have also said our investigation and most of the activities of the police has to be intelligence-led. We don't want a situation where we go fishing for evidence before inviting people to our facilities. And that has, resulted in us having less people in our custody, because, the issue of pretrial detention, that is one area where members of the public have always held us accountable for custodian violence. And since we have been doing that, you discover that the number of reports we've been getting on our platform, the complaint response unit, has, diminished over, the past few months, which is an indication that my officers, have shown the capacity that they are trainable, and also members of the public, I also have to commend them for changing the narratives of the Nigerian police, in the country, because now they give us information. They are sure that those information will be, professionally handled, and they're beginning to trust us. It's not something that we can sort out in a period of just 1 year. It's a gradual process, it's an incremental thing, and I'm sure we will get there.
And then the other aspect, a year, incidentally, it's a year since you assumed office as the IGP. You would have thought that by now we should be seeing forensics, such that it will unlock a lot of unanswered questions about crime and what's going on in the country. Why is that not the case?
That is the case. You see, policing is such that we don't advertise most of the platforms that we have, as it were. As we speak now, the DIG in charge of investigation and intelligence is in Germany, to push for this forensic department, the database. And we have been able to connect with NIMC, the Nigerian Identity Management Commission. We've been able to also connect with Federal Road Safety Corps. So we already have, the technical platforms.
So that's more like a synergy amongst all those agencies.
Absolutely, that is exactly what we are trying to do, because we are saying that if we want to start collecting fingerprints of every Nigerian all over again, it's going to be a nightmare. So why can't we key into things that we already have? The BBM, the one that they did in the listing, we are also keying into that. So we already have, a criminal database, that is that we've been able to establish in the headquarters, and it's up and running. The equipments are coming in. So once we're able to key into this, now you can't. Once you are arrested, your fingerprint has to be taken. So we keep upgrading, that system. And I'm sure you are aware that we've been able to digitalize our clearance character certificates. We've been able to do the teens permit. We've been able to do the firearms license. So that is a way of us to also building on, our forensic, platforms. Just as I said, these things are, it's not rocket science. It's something the force has been neglected over the years. We failed to do those things that we were supposed to do. Now we are starting them. We just have to, be on it and ensure that in the end we are able to, get to the stage where if you mention the Nigerian police force, you'll be talking, about them and comparing them to what obtains, internationally, across the length and breadth of the world. So this is exactly where we are.
But those who are members of the Nigerian police, it's very important that they are very intelligent, they get the required training. And I'll take you back to 2000 when the police had this recruitment then, and there's this allegation that a lot of people who were not fit to be recruited into the police force got into the police force at that time. Now you get into another recruitment process, 10,000, which we understand that it has gone over how many?
750,000.
Almost a million now. How do you ensure that we don't have a repeat of what happened in 2000 and we don't have people, maybe some kind of political influence in putting people into the police force instead of getting those who are very fit, qualified, that have the passion to work as police men and women?
Well, the process has been well thought out. From the first time I sought the assistance of the president to bring in more men to increase our numeric strength, we sat down to look at what were those things that went wrong in the first exercise. We were in a rush, so the exercise was, not properly done. Now we decided that if you are going to apply, you are going to apply online. What that means is that there are certain criteria of persons. Even if you apply online, once you don't meet those conditions that we have put in place, definitely the system will sort you out. So there is already, a software that will sort out those people who we think are not, they don't meet our minimum requirements. Then after that has been done, we've been able to put together a committee, the Federal Character Commission, the Police Service Commission, the Ministry of Interior, the Nigerian Police Force, Secretary to Government Office. So we have put together this team, and we are going to start the process from the various local governments and states. We must be able to say, who are these people? There must be somebody who should be able to vouch for you to say, oh yes, Suleiman, is from so and so local government. These are, the parents are people who are, church-going people or some whatever is the, or mosque-going people. We must be able to start, doing that. And the good thing about it is that we are now going to introduce some technology into recruitment. We've been able to acquire some polygraph machines. Those polygraph machines will be deployed. We are also going to apply some, drug testing kits to ensure that we don't bring in people who are into drugs. And we are thinking that by the time we do all these things, we should be able to at least be able to identify people who have a passion for policing, not just because they want a job, they want to come into the system. And definitely there's going to be a psychometric test for us to determine, because a policeman that cannot write, that cannot communicate, cannot be a police officer. So you are talking about, the intellectual, depth of the people that we are going to bring in. The police warehouses a lot of very intelligent officers. All we just have to do is just to expose them to constant training and retraining of these men. And that is why in the past 1 year, about 138 of them have been sent outside this country.
138?
Yes, outside the country. Different because we've been able to leverage on the president's tours, any country he goes to, and he talks about asking for assistance for security sector reforms. The people, most of their embassies, they come, asking what area exactly do you think we should be able to assist you people. We've been able to draw up some MOUs too, and about 138, and within here, about 600 of them have been trained, especially the UK, Canada, Italy, the United States of America. And I am training them in specialized areas. It's not just a general training, as it were. I look at our system. I say, what areas do we really need those specialized skills? Is it crime scene management? Is it intelligence, led policing? Is it human rights models of how you police a democratic society? So I am very, very careful the type of training that I give to them.
Well, it's still, some will say that's still a drop in the ocean compared with the number of policemen we currently have. I mean, 600, 138.
No, that is against the backdrop of, our domestic trainings. Our domestic trainings have not stopped. Okay. It's a continuous process. We keep training them. For instance, we promoted the rank and file and the inspectors. We promoted close to 39,400 or 500 early this year. But before you are promoted, we ensure that you go for a refresher's course. We discover that most of the emphasis we have always had in our training has always been physical fitness. Physical fitness is okay, but then you have now discovered that the world has now moved on. Policing is now knowledge-based. If it is knowledge-based, you expect that officers that you are going to train will have a bookish acquaintance of maybe psychology, some sociology, because if you are going to work in an environment, I will expect that any good policeman who I post to any state in the Federation should be able to situate his operations within the socio-cultural environment in which he's working. So you require a bit of psychology, public relations, human rights issues. It is when you see a policeman who is who has a complex, he's prone to overreaction whenever he comes in contact.
Maybe I can just come in here, Mark, for just a moment here. Now you're talking about complex. You also made mention of those that have gotten promotion.
Yes.
A couple of times we've received complaints about promotions, and in their words they use this word special promotion. And some people have had special promotions over the years. Maybe someone who's been on a particular rank for 2 or 3 years, as against someone who's been on that same rank for about 12 years. So are you aware of people in the system who have been on a rank for about 10, 12 years?
In some categories of the hierarchy of the Nigerian police force, there are some cadre that is top heavy. CSPs to assistant commissioners of police, because you have to promote against the establishment and strength of that organization. You cannot promote over the establishment that has been fixed. Over the years, like when you promote somebody as an assistant commissioner of police, he is now going to act as maybe an area commander, ACCID, AC operations. If we don't open up, the top, then there are no vacancies. So what the president has asked us to do now is to make recommendations. If we create more area commands, if we create more zonal commands, if we create more, divisional police office, then it means you are opening up the top. So if you open up the top, you remove that clog of frustration that is. Let me come back to the first question you asked. If people, there are some people who are promoted, given special consideration in terms of promotion. If you display exceptional professional, character. For example, the young man in Osun, they went for a bank robbery, and the divisional police officer, a DSP, followed up. It is that is reaction of following up with these robbers. Making sure that he arrested them and recovered the money. When you look at such an officer, you say he has displayed exceptional, professional character. That you have to start telling officers that if you do some certain things that brings pride and joy to the system, there must be a way of compensating you. It's either I issue you a commendation letter, depending on the weight of what you have done, or I said, yes, you have spent some years, on the rank. Why can't I cannot promote somebody who has not spent up to 3 years in one rank. The best I can do is to maybe recommend him to the Police Service Commission for maybe an acting appointment. He acts on that position, but you see, it gives him that feeling of satisfaction that I work for an establishment that appreciates what I have done. I have put my life, on the line to ensure that these things were done. So those are the criteria that sometimes, that comes to play whenever you want to do things like that.
Let me just follow up on the intelligence policing aspect. I mean, are they using this preventive measures now? Because many times we see they react when something has already happened. But in terms of you deploying that intelligence,
yes,
how functional is it to prevent crime from going on?
Well, you see, when crime is prevented, it does not make headline news. I'll give you some. I'll give you some examples. My establishment of the intelligence response team was for them. I looked at some officers within the system who could match intelligence generated from platforms with operational skills on the field. When some young Nigerians wanted to go, to Republic of Benin to go and rob a bureau de change, we already knew they were coming. We had intelligence they were coming, and we wanted them to, to dare us because we already had intelligence, and that was why, we were able to halt. We co-shared, with other agencies in the system, the military, the Triple S, the custom service, and we're able to. They actually came. We're able to halt them and arrest them. You see, when these things they happen, ordinarily, Nigerians, it doesn't make. They don't want to know the details about how.
Does the police furnish the media with that information?
Well, the goods and services that the police we produce, they are soft goods. They don't lend themselves to assessment. We don't publicize ourselves. My responsibility as an Inspector General of Police is to ensure that crimes are not committed, or when they are committed, I have the capacity to be able to solve them. I am not a public relations officer. I cannot come every day and say, oh, I have be able to prevent this thing from happening. That is exactly what I'm supposed to do in the first instance. So to many Nigerians, they say, and so what? Does that make any news? That is what you are paid to do in the first instance. But when it happens, and I am, even when some cases happen, the thing the people they think they've been successful. My investigation does not stop there. I now have the responsibility to ensure that those people who have done those things, I bring them to book. And how I do it, depends on my own understanding of the type of crime, how I'm going to marshal man material to ensure that I'm able to get the people who are involved in this thing.
Let's see what's going on the screen now. It's a typology of what we get. Our producers will let us see that again. It's a typology of what we get to see almost on a weekly or monthly basis, talking about parading of a parade of suspects. And sometimes you get to see catch-up arms being recovered by the police. We'll come back to the suspects, but talking about the catch-up arms, Nigerians wonder what the police does with recovered arms, and how much of effort they put in place to making sure that they don't get back into the society.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. When these things are recovered and they have suspects attached to them, it means that we have to be able to advance evidential proof when we are prosecuting them. And the firearms that we have recovered is one of the things we have to prove in court, to say, oh, we arrested this hoodlum, he had these firearms, And that is, that makes one of our key elements that we can, we used to prove in court that this guy is actually a hoodlum. After the case has been disposed of, those arms are exhibits anyway. We have a warehouse where we put those things. And occasionally I send the DIG in charge of operations to mop up, those arms across the length and breadth of the country. We bring them into a specific place, and there are periods where you have to keep those things, then you can now destroy them.
Oh, they're destroyed?
Yeah, they are destroyed, yes.
They're not used by the police?
No. They are not used by the police. Most of those...
Sorry, have you ever had a case of someone comes into maybe the exhibit room for arms, and you discover that maybe a pistol or rifle is missing?
Yes. Yes, sometimes we have cases like that. It is not something that is very, very prevalent. But you see, if you lose, sometimes a lot of officers lose their lives in the course of duty. These hoodlums, they shoot them, kill them, take their arms. If you've read the Day of the Jackal, you see when terrorist groups are trying to amass firearms, the first set of people who are ready targets are law enforcement agents. They raid our police stations, go to the armory, take the arms. So sometimes when we recover those arms, we try to match them, with the arms that we have lost.
You have a record?
Yeah, we have a record of those ones. Most of them, they have breach numbers. So you always know, where if we bring in any arms into this country, the manufacturers and everything, they give us a list of those arms. So we have a database where we keep those things, so that if we lose firearms, we can easily match them to see if that one we recovered from some gangsters, whether they match the ones that we have in that place.
Yeah. To follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because about the arms recovered.
Yes.
Now the other thing about it is that the herdsmen. First of all, how do they get the arms that they get?
Well, I have repeatedly said this in a lot of platforms. Our pastoralists we have in Nigeria here, historically, they've been people who have been domiciled in our environment. All we know them to carry is daggers, something slinging them in their hands, and maybe bow and arrows. But if you look at the series of wars that had happened within the African sub-region, you will now discover that there are proliferations of firearms in the system. The insurgency in Mali has been protracted. That of Libya was a nightmare. If you look at Chad, Niger, all these are places, Burkina Faso. There are places where a lot of criminal activities have taken place, and we have borders that are not we cannot man appropriately because they are numerous borders, and we have these things with the ECOWAS. They are our neighbors. We want to be friendly. We want to cultivate them because they also have to complement what we are doing in our various countries.
Within the laws.
Sorry?
Within the laws of the country.
These things, they don't come in legally. They are smuggled across. There was a time some herdsmen from one of the African countries, some officers stopped them. Their horses and the cows, the way they stripped the guns, just as if they were carrying luggages. And sometimes the immigration officials can just overlook those ones. Sometimes they arrest some of them. So what we are facing actually is that because we want to develop this good neighborliness, with our our neighbors, who are also assisting us too in our counterinsurgency activities. Invariably, a lot of these arms have come into our system. And how do you distinguish, a herdsman from Mali, Chad, and a herdsman, who is indigenous to our system? So these are the challenges that we have. They are really challenges, and I know that my colleague in immigration and distant civil defense, they are presently in Germany or London somewhere trying to see how they can, we will be able to put some electronic device in our various borders to ensure that this proliferation of arms, they don't come into our system.
But as we, one of the problems right now is the current, recurrent crisis between herdsmen and, farmers, and that has happened. You went to Agatu, you saw the situation in Agatu. We've also seen situations in the south, in the southeast, in the north central, in the southwest as well. You also went for the rescue of Chief Olufalaye at that point in time, and it would seem that the crisis is yet to abate. What do you think? Yes, there's a long-lasting solution which you say they're working on in terms of preventing, people who are carrying arms, herdsmen who are carrying arms. But in the meantime, what do you think the response of the police should be to this current crisis?
Well, this communal crisis we're having is not new to our system. You even discover that
the scale now.
The scale, yes, there is a scale there, the magnitude. Just because it has been reinforced, by people who have come into our environment. I was going to mention that you remember the OPC Hausa crisis in Lagos in the 80s. You also remember.
That was a recent one. Again.
Yeah, no, this one is just
OPC,
that. The other one was more protracted. It was, it was a very destructive, disorder that happened then. Then you now go to, Delta, where you have the Shekiris and the Ijos. Then you now move to, the east, where you have the Aguleris and the, so we've always had these things with us, sometimes we have to be able to situate these things into a historical perspective. How did we settle these issues? We must be able to use the benefit of hindsight, to solving current, security challenges in the country. What's happened, like what I suggested to the governor of Nasarawa, Benue, I said, okay, this crisis that have been happening in Agatu, they are seasonal outbursts. So if they are seasonal outbursts, and we can already identify, the boundaries, is it not possible for us to have a buffer zone? Because that is exactly what we did in Aguleri. When we discovered that the crisis, the combatants, on both sides, they were unrelenting. We decided to, fix, build a mobile barracks to act as a buffer zone. So we already know that it happens. It's a recurrent thing. So why can't we secure that place permanently? That one too, they have their own cost implications. And the cost implications, I have appealed to the two governors, build us the barracks, get us some logistics, I'll deploy the PMF men there. It will act as a buffer zone. So if any of the combatants is coming from either this side or this side, you are not going to contend, with a force that will not allow you to, go through that boundary.
Do you think that this is communal crisis? It's not the case of some herdsmen who are migrating from one area to the other. You think this is?
Yeah. That is also, it's the issue too. But what I'm saying is that if you look at the areas where these things they happen, we should be able to intervene by putting structures, in place, so that the response time of the security agencies will be prompt, and we should be able to also, ensure that our borders are properly secured, so that we don't allow this, like what has happened in the Niger Delta during this era of resource control. There was easy access to firearms. Now the firearms are being deployed in such a way that it is becoming very, very destructive.
Just want to know quickly though, when you went to Agatu, we do know that the people of Agatu asked for more security.
Yes.
Did you deploy?
I did.
Some men there.
I
Are
did.
they still there?
They are still there. But you see, sometimes too, you also have to take into consideration the cost implication. All these things are things that are not unbudgeted for. They are not in the budget. I will not know that I will be deploying maybe about 2 units of about maybe 150 men to a trouble spot, at a particular point in time. If I deploy these men and their welfare is not adequately taken care of, then I'm creating another problem again. The men, it gets to a time and they start asking me, IG, we can't get water, we can't get food, our allowances have not been paid. The state governments, they are facing some, their own financial crisis. I will now start sourcing for money to ensure that these things are done. So instead of us now deploying our scarce resources into taking care of social amenities that will touch the lives of the people, we are deploying it into taking care of.
Boaji, this herdsman situation, many are worried and concerned about it. They want a solution, but there are many questions too. They ask, are they Boko Haram in disguise?
There is nothing to suggest that for now. But what we are doing is that we've been trying to interface, with the leadership of Meeti Allah. The president and the secretary, they've done quite a lot of, partnership with the Nigerian police force. The two gentlemen have done so much and sometimes I look at them, I don't know how to, compensate them for what they do, because anywhere there is, when they had that incident in Southwest, the guys, they traveled, they asked me that I should connect them with all the commissioners of police in those areas. They had town hall meetings between the herdsmen in all the states and the locals in those areas, trying to appeal to them that there is need for mutual respect for each other and cohabitation. So I think that is one area we should try to exploit, trying to reach out to the leadership of these groups. There are people that they actually respect. In all communities, there are usually groups you can identify that they respect. And that is why everywhere I have traveled, the 36 states I have traveled, the main component of my visit has always been, when I speak to my men, I must have a town hall meeting, community partnership, and I identify, non-state actors within those communities and appeal to them for, to ensure that, they live together as one.
In every good community, you must have some criminals or criminal elements. Has there been any arrests made in terms of the herdsmen crisis in some of these communities?
Oh yes, absolutely. We are prosecuting a lot of them in all, just that's what I said. You see, the idea is that when these things happen, they make headline news. When we are able to apprehend them, take them to court, it takes a back seat. Because just as I said, Nigerians, they expect that I should be able to do that. That is my responsibility. I should be able to arrest the people and prosecute them.
Now we're talking about people, suspects. Good thing you're a lawyer. When some suspects are being paraded, how do you ensure that their rights are not infringed upon, in the police custody? And even for those that turn out to be some mistaken, someone who was mistaken to be a criminal, and the police found out that he was just wrongly picked up and even paraded. What does the police do to right such wrong?
Well, parading suspects, it's a double-edged thing. Me as a lawyer, I will not want people to be paraded when their identity are, that's why I insist that you have to, put a shield across them. But you see, when you are also in a society that insists, we get agitated whenever things happen in this country. There are other jurisdictions, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, investigating a crime, they take you 1, 2, 3 years. The investigator is trying to put things together, is trying to get forensic evidence, like the young man in the UK who was always killing women. It was just the rock, the particles from the rock that they used in piecing it together. It took them 2 years to do that. If such things happen in Nigeria, the pressure is always overtaking. Everybody, they say, what are you guys doing? Do this, do that. So, under such this thing, you want to tell members of the public that we are not sleeping, we are doing something. So these are some of the guys that we have. These are the arms that we have. So I think that is, the concept behind it. You were talking about custodian violence. We just finished the first inaugural Inspector Generals of Police conference, And that was the team, you know, that we threw up: custodian violence and strategic management. I was going to bring the former commissioner of police in Chicago, Gary. Gary was to speak to the commissioners of police to tell them of the implication of, you know, custodian violence. You remember that in Chicago somebody was shot. It took them about a year. People were asking for the footage and all, you know, this, and Gary was not the commissioner of police then, you know, but he inherited the problem. And it got to a stage where the people could, you know, not accept it anymore. They said, no, we are not in a Hobbesian state where might is right. You know, you must get this police officer who did this, and he must be prosecuted. And the riot went on, and he finally resigned as commissioner of police. These things, they happened, you know. I wanted him to come and talk to them and let them hear of the implication of adopting the custodian violence. And one of the strategies that I have deployed since I became the IG, I have always said it. I said, look, no, life is sacrosanct. No policeman is immune to the criminal, you know, procedures or criminal. So if you kill anybody, any Nigerian, you shoot any Nigerian, I'll charge you to court.
You've been doing that?
About 7 or 8 of them are in court. I've done that. Lagos, everywhere. It's been, and I think that has sent a message to them that I have a zero tolerance for, you know, custodian violence. It's something that should not be accepted, and that is why we have now, you know, procured the testing kits. So I now say, if you are going to go on the streets to patrol the streets or something, our medical doctors could carry out some snap checks. You know, take some samples, your urine test and all those things. Once they discover that you have some alcohol in your system, then I will not give you firearms.
Just quickly though, there's the part, you know, where policemen still take, you know, bribes along the road. How is that part being sorted? Is it on the rise or is it reducing?
It has reduced drastically, and I have done everything I should do as an Inspector General of Police to open up the Nigerian police force to public accountability. I have set up platforms. I expect Nigerians to use those platforms. I have done my bits. So it is left to Nigerians now to be able to, you know, say, no, you can't do that. You can, the crime response unit, stop the bribes. All those things, they are there. There are platforms that I have created for Nigeria.
Have they been effective? Have they been making use of them?
Very, very effective. On a monthly basis, the crime response unit, let me quickly say that the crime response unit is the first you have in Africa. Even the New York, you know, State Department, they have something that is similar. But the reporting time, whenever anything happens, you know, there must be a feedback. I insist that there must be a feedback. So if you report a case to that platform, I expect that they should be able to investigate and call you back and say, this is, you know, the result of our investigation. It's only in Nigeria that we've been able to do that. And the numbers are there, they're in the public domain. So I would expect that Nigerians should be able to exploit, you know, those facilities. I cannot be everywhere. You know, I am here in Abuja, you know, the headquarters. Sometimes they send me text messages everywhere, and I will reply, I'll say, call 0805 700 0001 or 002 and get back to me. And they do, and maybe in the next 10-15 minutes they will say, thank you, IG. I got the platform, and they are working on it. Right. Bribery, as it were, as we are talking about, it's something that is a product of fear of the unknown. And what I have tried to do, my strategic approach to halting issues of bribery and corruption in Nigerian police force, is to ensure that I do things that will guarantee their welfare. The inspectors on rank and file, they are the most, there is one class of people that we have neglected in Nigerian police force. They are the ones who you see on the streets.
All right, we'll come back and shed some light, and in addition to 1 or 2 more questions. That's when we return in just a moment. Join us again. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Welcome to you live from Abuja. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, is here with us, shedding some light on policing in the country. Well, the welfare package that you're putting in place, that's one that we should also focus on, because much as, yes, we could criticize the police when they do wrong, but we should also focus on their welfare because they had to be happy themselves before they get out there. How far-reaching are those measures that you put in place?
Well, it's been well thought out, you know, and I deliberately targeted those group of people that create the negatives about us, which are the inspectors and rank and file, as I mentioned earlier. They are the guys who are on the streets, patrolling the street. They are the guys who you meet at the charge room. They are the guys who obtain statements, you know, in our various police stations. And we've not been able to really take a look at this group of people and say, what are their needs? You know, everybody, you know, in terms of hierarchy of needs, what are the needs of this group of officers? What can we do for them that we can now have the moral latitude to go against them whenever whenever they engage in unprofessional conduct? It's not just enough for me to proceed against them whenever they err. What have I done for them? So the first thing I thought about was that every inspector or rank and file, can they be entitled to at least a 2-bedroom apartment, you know, wherever they want to retire to when they're living 35 years or 60 years, as the case may be. And I think it's achievable. We have a cooperative society. We have a mortgage, a micro mortgage finance. So we can, you know, early in their career, we can assist them to acquire these houses in as far as they are reasonable. They are not more than 5 million. And they start paying maybe about their deductions, you know, from their salary through their cooperative society is not more than 10,000 or something a month. These are things they will not feel. But in the end, when they are exiting from the force, they should be able to say we have something. Then if you engage in a professional misconduct, then it means that you will not have access to that welfare scheme. So I use it as a bait to hold them to good conduct. Then I also said, why can't I set up a foundation for their children? Who says that the child of an inspector or a rank and file, with the right environment, education, you know, push, cannot rise to become an inspector general of police? So I instituted, you know, a foundation for them and said, this group of people, I'm going to restrict it to the inspectors and rank and file children, and those of our colleagues too, those are inspectors and rank and file who have died, you know, fighting crime. That way, I want to use it to motivate them, to tell them that you are not forgotten. You died fighting for. There's no other thing you can do for anybody than to put your life on the line. So we appreciate you, and your children, we should be able to take care of them. We have schools all over the place. So we started with in December we gave scholarship to 325 of them, and we've already paid for their school fees for 5 years. What we are trying to do now is to ensure that...
Scholarship at what level?
To university level.
Oh, to university.
Yes. You know, once you're able to have... we take them from the primary, secondary school. Not everybody could go to the university anyway. If we discover that, you know, there's a monitoring team monitoring them. If we discover that your special skill is in things that you can, you know, technical skills, then we cannot, you know, direct you towards, you know, technical. If you are a high flyer and you want to go to the university, we should be able to guide you to, you know, go to the university.
Okay. Do you have a SWAT team for hostage situations?
That is the intelligence response team that we have. Those are the guys who, you know, halted robbery in Lagos. They are the guys who were also involved in the rescue of those girls in Ikorodu schools. Even yesterday, they also deployed to Kogi to get the permanent secretary out. Those are the group of, it's an elite team. They were carefully selected because they have knowledge of intelligence analysis. It's not just pushing any policeman to the streets. He must be able to, you know, read coordinates, you know, mentally mobile. So you should be able to also interface, you know, with the headquarters directives. I'm telling you this. Why can't you do that? Why can't you do that? And it's intelligent enough to, you know, use those intelligence that I have, you know, to direct the operation.
We'll call them the elite team.
It's an elite team.
I'm excited that you put in some meaning to all of this, because initially I said to myself, maybe the office of the IG must be selfish, because sometimes when we get some of those hard, you know, crimes to crack, we send such teams, and within the space of maybe 48 hours, they give you resort. We saw that they did that in terms of kidnappings and cultist activities in Edo State, in Imo State, kidnappings and so many other places, and even Edo State. And I said, why will they have a team called the IG's team, and these are crack men who can actually do things like this? Now you say they are a SWAT, like an elitist.
Yes,
especially,
yes.
They had some kind of special training?
Yes. And what I'm trying to do now is, I brought in some officers from the United Kingdom, from the kidnapping office in the United Kingdom, to come and train them. So what we are trying to do now is to now get, I think they're starting the training this week in Abuja, get the officers who are heading those various, departments in all the state command, and start a retraining program for them on how to handle, these serious crimes. It's difficult. It's also the cost implication of setting up such a thing is always very, very, because you require a lot of sufficient training, you require equipment. So it's a man-material thing. Putting those things together could be very, very,
I'm just wondering though, so but kidnapping, kidnapping is, I don't know, it's getting rather rife these days. What do you think is, giving the kidnappers the impetus? Is it that the deterrent is not enough?
Okay, I don't know what statistics you have, but, for this year, we had about 358 kidnap cases. We arrested 106 of the kidnappers and successfully rescued the people. You will also want to ask me, Markwe, that why is armed robbery, on the decrease?
And kidnapping on the rise?
Kidnapping on the rise. They are current trends of criminal gangs. They suddenly discover that robbery or robbing banks is becoming very, very dangerous and risky. We cannot cover all the security space. The police, as it were, cannot cover all the security space. Even if we try, if you look at the square meters of Nigeria, then you look at it against the number of police officers that we have, we cannot be everywhere. I have deployed, when I dismantled the roadblock and then placed the safer highways, I started with 600. I have, through the intervention of the president, I have upped it again to 800. But still, that 800 is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you look at all the major highways in the country, how many vehicles am I supposed to deploy that will act as a psychological reassurance to members of the public that the public space is safe? So now these people, they just take soft targets, and sometimes we also have connivance of people within. We have a case now in where is that? Enugu or somewhere, where somebody from the household stage manage this thing to get money from their relation outside the country.
Well, I wanted to go for a quick one. Are we still investigating the late Bolide matter?
Well, there are no fresh evidence to reopen the case for now. But criminal cases, they are not statutory.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back in a minute. Don't go away.